Welcome to Unwrapped Tech Leadership Journeys. This is a Baldur Connect podcast, and this is an episode with the CEO of Dreamix, Stoyan Mitov. I hope you enjoy. All right, Stoyan, welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm also very happy to be here.
And we could start with a bit of a background. So I'm going to go through some of your personal experience, and then we can get into what you're doing right now with Dreamix and what you guys have achieved at this company. And we'll see where the conversation takes us. Yeah. So Stoyan, you've been in the IT industry, I believe, for more than 15 years. And you started with some interesting names like working for HP. And after that, I can see that you very quickly evolved from kind of working for other people to becoming an entrepreneur, co-founder, partner, and author. And if anybody goes through your CV, it's like co-founder, author, writing about various tech topics in Silicon Valley. Then you're a partner in an IT company as well, focusing on DevOps and SysOps services and cloud infrastructure. Then you are also co-founder of a very interesting application that's still running today. And it was actually often the number one used social application in Bulgaria that I'm very curious to get into as well. And again, you're a member and contributor of Forbes Technology Council, board member, once again, focusing on empowering CEOs and aspiring success in the tech industry. And for the past, I believe, more than 11 years, you've been with Dreamix. And at Dreamix, you started as a business development director. And in preparation for this interview, I also watched a lot of your previous interviews where you were reaching out to businesses, cold calling, going door to door, speaking to Silicon Valley companies, trying to get new customers on board. And then from my understanding, you had to figure out that once you brought these customers on board, how do you actually build a team, an amazing team that's able to serve them at the highest level. And from there, you progressed to become a partner at Dreamix as well. And for the past 2.5 years, you're a CEO and partner as well. Notably at Dreamix, you guys have built an incredible culture. And that's definitely going to be a big topic of discussion for us today. What does it take to build such an amazing, strong culture? And some of the partners you guys work with, like names that everybody will recognize, including Coca-Cola. I know you guys have unicorns in your portfolio of clients as well. ProSieben Group from Germany, we actually work with them as well. And a lot of other clients in the healthcare industry, fintech industry, aviation, logistics, and automotive. So very excited to get into this. And yeah, could you maybe give a bit of a background in your personal words? How did your career start? And how did you make such a quick jump from being, an employee to being such an entrepreneur?
Thanks for the intro, Alex. And let me share a bit more, because if you look at the LinkedIn, it might give a different perspective than what it is exactly. Mm-hmm. So even as a young kid, not sure whether the people in Germany can relate to, but being in Bulgaria in the beginning of the 90s, it was a very poor time here, after the communism, no money at all, high inflation. The people lost all of their savings because of this high inflation and everything. And because of that, having nothing, since a young age, being, let's say, 8, 10 years old, we had to figure out a way to have some money in order to, have even money for some chocolate to buy, to buy a football ball, to be able to play outside and so on. So even since that age, I was like doing some hustler type of entrepreneurial stuff, picking up flowers from different neighborhoods, selling it in my neighborhood, because there were no stores back then in the city, making money out of it, picking up some lizards and animals from somewhere, selling it. So I was like doing a lot of stuff because we didn't have animal shops back then, you can imagine, pet shops. Also in the university, I've graduated from the American University here in Bulgaria, and the American education is giving you a lot of this entrepreneurial spirit. It makes you feel that it depends on you, not on someone else, in order to be successful, in order to be happy. This is the type of mentality of the US, and this is for me super important. And here I can share that I graduated the university a year later because the last year my parents couldn't pay the tuition because it was like $10,000 or something. Back then, this was huge money in my country. So this was also a learning lesson for me, not to depend even on my parents anymore in order to be able to be successful in life. Yeah. So I graduated a year later. Friends of mine paid my university. Also, the other tuitions were paid by credits and all this type of stuff. And before graduating, me and one of my best friends started a company. He graduated the previous year. I didn't graduate it yet, that was important. And we started a business that was in the extreme sports. Something like Groupon in the States, but for extreme sports only, and for things that you can do with your hands. And long story short, just to give you an example, with this person and 2 other partners there, we started 4 or 5 businesses in my early 20s. All of them failed somehow. But the interesting part is that you read my resume, I achieved success after that. This guy, who I'm also the best man to, built the first unicorn in Bulgaria.
Wow.
So the other 2 people, one of them also built a company that raised something like more than $100 million as an investment. So all of us became successful after this business-wise, but in a separate ways. We are still close friends, but that's the important part. Why I'm saying that? Because it may seem, that I started in HP, but I started in HP after having 2 failed companies, and I started in HP because I needed the money to pay my credit bills from the university tuition. So just wanted to give that short introduction initially, because I always had this entrepreneurial mindset, and when I will speak about the culture in the company, but one of the people that we made a partner in Dreamix, he has this saying that I believe is super nice. And he says, when you join a company, you should work in it as it is your own company. No matter whether it is your own or it doesn't, you're just an employee. Because sooner or later, if these are the right people in the company, you will become an owner there. If you work as an owner during the entire journey, that's super important as a mindset. I was also like that. When I joined Dreamix, I joined because, of course, I needed the money because I had 2 additional fails. And when I joined, we were 15 people or something. Currently, we are nearly 300. So I was the first person that was dedicated to do sales and business development. And my mindset was that no matter that I'm an employee initially, I will work as it is my own business. And no matter, as I mentioned, whether you are an employer or the initial owner, if you work as hard as an owner of the business, sooner or later, you will become a partner owner if this is the right culture and the right company. That's super important.
And I see this is also what you did in Dreamix because, again, from all my research, you speak quite often about getting your team members emotionally involved in the success of the company. And of course, it's tied to their own success, but also the success of the customers. And I can see that you guys deal with your clients as if it's almost like your own family member. I have a question actually about your entrepreneurial part where you had multiple failed businesses. What do you think was it that you guys learned as a group with your best friends that made you successful in subsequent businesses? Was it the hustle mentality? Was it some tactical skills? Was it understanding how the business culture, how to get deals in? What was the biggest, you think, recipe for your future success?
Yes. So it is many lessons, frankly. Some of them is that you have to work hard. And, everyone is speaking about this work-life balance. I believe in it, but I don't believe in it in the way that most of the people believe in it. I believe that at certain times of your life, you work more than you, let's say, go party, or at certain times you spend more time with your family, or at certain parts you spend more time, let's say, clubbing, going outside with friends. But at the end, this should be in balance. But it is like this throughout the years, That's important.
Some macro balance over the course of your life, not a balance on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly. I don't believe in balance as in the micro level of the balance, because at certain times of your life, something different is more important to you at that moment than something else. You cannot be 4 hours family, 4 hours work, 4 hours friends, 4 hours for your own or whatever, It's
Definitely.
impossible. But the lessons that I learned, first of all, work hard. That's super important. Because if you ask whether to work hard or whether to work smart, of course it's best to work hard and smart. But in order to learn how to work smart, you have to first work hard to get the fails, That's important. Second of all, when you start something with partners, you are not the sole owner of the business. It is very important initially to set up who is responsible for what and how much time this person can dedicate to this. Because it may put pressure later on in the relationship between you. And the third is the relationship between you. You should stay friends, no matter whether it's going good or going bad. Because sometimes when you have more money, it's making it more challenging in the relationship than having struggles,
Right.
The struggles in being successful sometimes are harder than in the initial stages when you don't have anything and you don't think about money, and so on.
Really.
So these are some of the lessons. Of course, there are many more, but these are some of the important ones.
A couple of things came to mind as you're speaking about that, about having work-life balance, which you don't believe in. I'm with you on this 100%. Obviously, when you start in business, you do a lot of reading. And I came across Jim Rohn pretty early on, and he has a book about seasons of life where he talks about that, you have to have the winter, that is the tough part, that you cannot really do anything, you cannot really grow anything. Spring, you have to work hard to plant the seeds. Summer, you have to obviously enjoy the benefits, and then you're getting prepared for the next season. And another person I highly admire in the Silicon Valley angel investment field, Naval Ravikant, he also has a lot of quotes similar to this, that humans are not meant to run marathons for their whole life. We're meant to do like hunter-gatherers. You go for a short sprint, you kill the animal, you eat, you feed the whole village, then you rest and recover, and then you do it again. That we're not supposed to go at a level 10 out of 10 our whole life. You have to go very intense for periods of time, and then you have to take a break to plan and reset. So I think that's very interesting. Second thing that came to my mind as well, I can relate to because I'm from a similar background. I'm originally from Moldova, so we're not that far away. We're actually neighbors, but I grew up in Canada as well. And that's a question that I'm going to connect to Dreamix. But, from post-Soviet countries, it's a lot of poverty. Like you said, there's no infrastructure. People were really struggling. And we all kind of had to go through that hustle in some way, that if you have a normal legal job working at a library, you're not going to be able to pay for your bills, right? So I think it's also the struggle that helps people from that background not really have issues with depression and anxiety and stuff like that. Because when you're used to fighting to survive for so many years and you're always in that state, you don't really think about that success, like you said, when you're really rich as a company and then you have fights about maybe between partners, who deserves more, who deserves less. So do you think that's one of the reasons why, at least for people in Bulgaria and everybody I've dealt with from Dreamix, why you guys are so happy? Or do you put something in their food in the cafeteria? Or what's the situation? Because even Todor or Svetlina, every time we speak to them, they always have a big smile on their face. They're always very happy, very excited.
Yes. First of all, the Dreamix story is not the typical startup story that you build something and in 4 years you're a unicorn. We were a gradual success, step by step. And because we've built it in the right way, with the right values, with the right culture, that's why we are happy. Because we've built something that we are proud of, that you come with a smile to the office every day. You know the people by name, your friends, that is it. But what you mentioned initially is also my big struggle now. I have 3 kids. Gonna be my big struggle with my kids because they don't grow up in the situation that I grew up in without anything, without money. Even I had days that I didn't have food on the table, because I'm from the city, not from the village where you can grow up something, and so on and so on. And it is a big struggle. When you have real hurdles, real impediments in your life, you don't have time to be depressed, Frank. You just have to go and fight and survive and figure out ways to be creative in order to go up, But when you have everything and you're, let's say, kids see that you have nice cars, you live in nice places, you go to nice places. I don't know, how can you create artificial hurdles? Because at the end, these are artificial impediments, artificial hurdles for them, and they know it. So this is thinking about a lot currently. And I believe that you have to have rough times so that you can build character. That's super important. Super important. And when you mention about depression, I spent 4 years in the Silicon Valley. When I joined Dreamix, after that I spent nearly 4 years in the Silicon Valley, hustling there to find the first direct clients in the US. As you mentioned, initially cold calling, knocking on doors, and so on and so on. And there, the life is different there, it's completely different than what it was here. And here it's becoming like in Western Europe, where you have everything. So building character by having impediments and hurdles is fundamental for cherishing and enjoying later on life, and not thinking about I need more, but to be satisfied, and to have this character, not to be depressed so often and whatever.
How does that translate to within your business? Because you guys are in a very good position at Dreamix, and maybe we can highlight some of the things, but you had incredible growth. And I'm not talking couple percentage points year over year, but I'm talking multiples year over year. And the most incredible thing perhaps is you guys have a 95% retention rate. And I'm not just saying this because it's on your LinkedIn or somewhere, but when we spoke to some of your colleagues, and like not management, but let's say somebody in the HR, something like this, you can see it's genuinely coming from them. They don't have a gun pointed at their head that they have to say nice things about the company. And even from your own employees, the feedback I got is, we feel like we're working for the Google of Bulgaria, So how do you instill that kind of going through challenges and building characters within your company? Because times are, let's say, pretty good. Or do you look for people that have a history of going through that kind of stuff before they join the company?
Okay, so this is a very big topic. There is a ranking here in Bulgaria there is one respected business media here, and we are the fastest growing company in the top 20 in the IT in Bulgaria, 47% last year, revenue-wise. We are also the one in the service sector that generates most revenue per employee. This is also very important. And the retention rate is one of the key foundations on that. Because as I mentioned, Dreamix success is gradual success, step by step. It's not that someone gave us money. We don't have outside investments. We didn't have that, we didn't have funds behind us, nothing. We didn't have connections. We were 20-something when started. The founders of the organization were still in the university when they started the company. So everything was a gradual process. And that's why this was important. Because when you have such a high attention, it means that you have people in the company that are for many years with you. They know the values, they know what is cherished, they know what is the right behavior. And even though when you grow fast, when you hire 50, 60, 100 people per year, then when these people join the organization, they have the other people as an example of behavior. These people that were together with us for so many years, they can see then how they behave, what is cherished, what is promoted in the organization, and so on. And that was very important because it is not something that all of the people in the company are for at most 2-3 years in the organization. No, really. There are employees that are longer than me even in Dreamix. So even though I'm 12 years here in the company, so that's important. But it is a big picture. And if we want to speak now about culture, if you want to go to this topic, please. I will share my screen so that I can visualize it a bit better. Just a second. So, first of all, I'm going to go to the big picture and go then to the small details. In Dreamix, we have this thing called Dreamix Way. This is how we work, how we live, how we communicate in Dreamix. And it is based on 4 pillars. First, it is the people. The people, we are making the company. That's very important. Second is the purpose. Third is the operational excellence. And fourth is giving back to the society. So if we go in details in the people, what is very important in order to achieve this 95% retention rate. First is who you hire. That is super key and super fundamental, because when you open the door to someone, this person can improve the company or can decrease the quality of the company.
Yeah.
And if you hire the wrong candidate, it is very important for you to react in the first 6 months, And in order to avoid these fails in hiring, we have different stages of the interview process. And just to give you an example, around 30% of the people in Dreamix each year come from cold recruitment, or from agencies, or from LinkedIn, or doesn't matter. The success rate of a person who comes from cold recruitment is 8% to pass through the interview process. The other 70% of the people that join us each year, they are coming from referrals. And the success rate of the referred candidates is around 30% to pass through the interview process. And that is very important, because people in the company know what type of people gonna fit here and thrive here in the organization. The second one is, when you have a growing organization, like this, like very high growth organization, we, the people inside of the company, should grow at least with the pace of the company. We should improve at least with the pace of the company. Because if the people in the company grow in a slower way, sooner or later, the company gonna be destroyed. Because the people won't be able to handle the growth. And that's why the company invests as much as possible in each and every one of us here. Just to give you an example, this year we paid to 2 of our colleagues to go to special programs in INSEAD. INSEAD, it is a very high-ranking university in Europe. We paid one of our engineering managers to go to the Ivy League University for a master degree for chief technology officer in the States, to Wharton. So we pay a lot of this, a lot of additional education, a lot of courses, a lot of whatever you want. And this is the second. And the third one, as I mentioned, is who you fire. That's super important, because you don't want to put the rotten apple inside of the organization.
That's right.
So that's super important for the people part. The purpose of Dreamix is super simple. To help people with good ideas for a better world, while we are building a place with a sense of belonging. On the first part, for example, we avoid working with online gambling, online casinos, online betting, because for us, this is not good for the society and we don't do it. I'm not saying this is universally true, but this is what we believe in, we don't do it.
Really?
For the second part, to feel this sense of belonging. Why is that important? Because nowadays, we can work from anywhere, from our home, from the office, from the cafeteria, wherever you want, you can work from. But that's why it's very easy for a person to build a sense of belonging just to the sofa or to the chair from which this person works from. And it is fundamental to have this sense of belonging and alignment, to be able to build it to this person so that he or she feels as part of something bigger, something meaningful, like a team, like a company. Because the people that feel as part of something big and meaningful, they have different type of mentality. They're enthusiastic about what they do. They are proactive about what they do. And they do a lot more than if you just feel like a normal job. And that's super essential in the service sector where we are. Because we work, the people are our company. So that's our product. And it's super essential. Then operational excellence. Several things here. How we find clients, how we turn them into partners, because we name our clients partners because we work together for years. To give you an example, we have a company called VistaJet with whom we work for more than 13 years now.
Yeah.
We started with them when they were just a small company with 50 employees. Currently, they are a unicorn with more than $1 billion in revenue, hundreds of aircraft, and so on and so on. That relationship is super important. That's why we are partners in this journey together. The second one is, when someone joins Dreamix, this person must feel that sky is the limit in terms of growth. And I'm the best example. As you mentioned, I joined the company as an employee 12, 13 years ago when we were 15, 16 people. Currently, I'm the CEO of the organization, and I was one of the biggest shareholders before the deal in the Dreamix team. The third one is, what value do you provide? What we say is that we don't code for the sake of coding, but what we do is we code in order to deliver business value. This is essential in our organization. We do our jobs, our software engineering and so on to do business value. And that's why we don't have developers, we have engineers. Because the engineers are the people that ask the question, why we do it? What's the value that we want to deliver? Can't we do it in a better way? They don't just execute what they are told. They are like consultants to our clients and partners in order to deliver the best value possible. And the final one that I want to mention is that many companies are saying that their employees are their best asset. However, very few can prove it by deeds. And I can give you an example. 4 years ago, for the first time, we decided to take out dividends from the business, because before that, all of the profits we reinvested in the company.
Is it?
And when we decided to take out dividends, by law, only the owners were, eligible for these dividends. It was 5-6 people back then. But morally, it was not true, because dozens of people helped us in this journey to reach this part where we can take out dividends. And what we did was a rule back then that part of the success at the end of the year of the money that we made, we were redistributing it to the people that were for 3 years in the organization based on their performance. It was a performance-based bonus. 2 years ago, we decided to give 6% of the equity to everyone based on certain conditions. This person must be at least senior, should be at least for 2 years in the company, and so on. So we're doing all these things in order for the people to see that when there is success, they should feel the benefit of it. Of course, when there is hard times, they should also feel it, because this is how you are building a strong culture and team together. And the last one, giving back. This is key, fundamental part of the Dreamix journey, and we are doing 3 things mostly. First, we donate 1% of our revenue yearly, but we don't donate it where I say to be donated. We have an internal portal where every person gets 30 euros per month to this portal, and this money can be donated to causes that every person in Dreamix can suggest there. And also, if you put your own money, not this 30 euros, the company is doubling it.
Wow.
That's very important. And the second very important is teaching. 30% of our people teach at universities, at private academies, because this is one of the best ways you can give back to the society. And the third one is support the communities, the tech communities most. We do Java conferences, Java newsletters, a lot of things.
Hackathons as well.
The Dreamix way, and this is part of the culture that I wanted to share.
And I had a question actually. You said at some point you guys removed the dividends that were distributed to employees. It was only for upper management, and then you decided to reintroduce it. And you said about 6% of I'm not sure if it's the total revenue or the equity in the company.
No, it is no, it's different. At a certain stage, I think 4 years ago it was. After the year after the COVID, so 3 or 4 years ago, when we were able to take out dividends from the company for the first time, because before that, all of the profits were put back in the business, were invested back in the business. We, by law, only the owners of the business, the official owners, are eligible for these dividends. Back then, it was 4 or 5 of us, something like this. I don't remember, or 6 of us, let's say. However, what we decided is, it is not morally right, just the 6 of us, to benefit from these dividends. So back then, we made that part of this pool that we generate as cash flow should be redistributed to everyone who is at least for 3 years in Dreamix and who is at least a certain seniority. No matter whether this person has equity in the business. That was a fundamental decision for us, and it was the right one to feel morally right and to come with smile to the company. Because you're doing what is morally right, not what is right by law or whatever. And then the next stage, on the next year, what we decided is to give equity to the people, to more of us. So first we gave 4% again to people who were eligible based on certain conditions, like being at least a senior in the company for at least 2 to 5 years in the company and so on. Year after that, we gave additional 2% of the equity and so on and so on. And we were doing that not because we are obliged to do, but because we were feeling that's the right thing to do. The initial founders in the business, the 3 people, when we did the deal with Synchron, they had around 50%. So 50% they redistributed to me and to other people. So you can think about the mindset. And this is without investments. We didn't have funds, anything that to take you from the equity. No, 50% of the company were given to the employees that joined after the founders found the business.
That's incredible. And I'm sure the payout of what you are giving your employees, which is rightfully in a moral way, as you mentioned, the payoff for you guys as a success of the business was much, much bigger than 6 or 8 or 10 or 20% of whatever you're distributing to the employees. So that must have been pretty cool to see that people feel invested in the outcome and the success of the company as well.
Yes, and the whole point is to make the pie bigger, not to have more in a smaller pie. That's the whole point.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And could you talk a little bit about the philosophy of how you hire these people and how do you find the alignment within your company culture? I know we discussed you guys have an internal mind map. I would love for you to get into that as well.
Yes, so when I joined the organization, initially in the first years, I was responsible for the sales and the business development. But after a certain stage in the business, we saw that no more the sales and the business were the main issue, but a big issue turned out to be hiring people, especially more senior people, not junior people. So after being responsible for the sales and the business development, I started being responsible for the talents and culture department. Our department is called talents and culture, not HR, because for me, calling a person a resource is not a good word, let's say. I don't like it. We don't like it in the company. So the talents and culture department, I became the head of the talents and culture department. So we started to be able to hire these senior people. And based on the feedback back then, I saw that a lot of them accepted to join our smaller company that was not so popular in the country, not joining these conglomerates or these big corporations that have the brand, have the PR and everything, just because they felt the enthusiasm, they liked the people that were interviewed by, and so on and so on. And then the next phase was, okay, but how can we figure out a definite way so that it is not just me who should be interviewing the people so that the hire should be a success. It should be detached from me. I should not be the breaking point if I'm sick or something so that it fails, you know.
The bottleneck, yeah.
Yeah, the bottleneck. What should we do? And we started brainstorm. And we came out with this. Let me share it with you. So what is this? This is our culture mind map. So if the culture is the red circle in the middle, our culture is based on 8 values, which are these bigger circles around it. Strive for mastery, autonomy, proactiveness, team player, and so on. We hire people that have at least 5 of these values, and the other 3 that they don't have, their mindset is not very against them. You know, that's very important.
Open-minded.
So, for example, how you can figure out in 2 interviews, because we have 2 interviews, one talents and culture interview that is around an hour, and one technical interview that is around 90 minutes, but the people that are doing the technical interview also look for these values here. So, how? we have this thing that you should ask questions that can give you these qualities, that can show you these qualities in the candidates. Not they say I'm a team player, but they should give you examples of activities that they have done that it proves that they are team players. And the smaller circles that the people see here around the values, what are these? These are deeds in our company that are making these values to be based on activities, not to be based on words. That's super important. These activities are making the values to be based on deeds, not on words. Because our culture is based on what we do, not what we say. And that is fundamental. And when we interview people, we want to see that the values in them are based on what they have done so far, not what they are saying to you. You know that they are. That's super important. So we ask questions that can give us examples about, for example, how you figure out whether a person relates to strive for mastery. Give you an example. You ask them, do you do any hobby projects? Do you do any extra thing? What are the vast courses that you have done? Do you, for example, have interest about something, Can you give me an example about what do you do during your weekends, etc., etc.? That's super important, Super important to see in them that they are people that really want to develop and grow. Super
growth
important.
Mindset.
Yes. For example, proactiveness. Can you give me an example of something that you have improved recently? In the project that you work, in the company, at your home, whatever. These are the type of the questions that we want to see the answers to.
Yeah, that gives a really good idea of how you guys think about. And it's very obvious that you gave, not just you personally, but as a team, you have given this a lot of thought, because you were speaking for 30 minutes straight about what is your mission, what is your vision, what are the kind of people that you hire, what do you guys mean by giving back? And a lot of times you have startup founders or business owners and you say, what is the mission of your business? And they cannot give you a clear, 2-3 sentence answer. So if you haven't personally figured out what is it you want to achieve and what kind of company you expect to build, how are you going to attract the people who are aligned with this? So it's very obvious that you've given this a lot of time, and I wish more companies as well thought about it as deeply as you guys have.
Thank you for that. And it is a fundamental part of the success. Frankly, even if you see it from my own benefit, I don't want to be at a place where every year the people change. No, you want to be part of a place where you can build meaningful relationship with the people that you're together there. Because, there are so many studies out there, even this Harvard study that is now for 100 years taking place. People are happy if they have more and more meaningful relationships. That's super important. And in your job, you should be able to build a lot of these meaningful relationships because you're spending a lot of your time working.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I want to get a little bit more into giving back. So I know you guys donate, aside from giving back to your team members, you also give back to the community. And you mentioned a lot of your engineers, they give lectures in universities. And in one of the interviews with the former CEO, a close friend of yours as well, board member, Todor, he talked about when the pandemic started that you guys actually organized hackathons where you had a small incentive to invite different kinds of projects and startups. I think it was more than 800 people, more than 120 or something like that submissions, that how could you use technology to help people get over the pandemic in some way? Could be personally, physically, financially, helping small businesses and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was extremely interesting. And I think some of those projects turned out to be quite advanced and quite high level, quite successful. So talk to me, what else do you guys do on the giving back side of things?
First of all, you mentioned teaching. This helps our people to grow also, because you are really good at something when you are able to explain it in simple words. That's super important. Second of all, even now, the macroeconomic situation in the IT sphere is not very nice. You have AI, ChatGPT, all these co-pilots and whatever. Now it's very hard for a junior person to get a job. All of the companies now, if they hire, they want someone senior, whatever. However, just to give you an example, in our second office in Plovdiv, this is the second biggest city in Bulgaria, currently there is an internship program. People from the office there that are teaching in the universities are giving from their free time to teach 10 junior guys, how to code, how to become software engineers. And at the end of this program, we are hiring the best ones. Even if there is no project for them or whatever, because this is also a mission to give chance to an ambitious, smart, young individual, even at a hard time, to have a career, to be able to build a career. Because careers and being able to feel valuable, that you're building value for someone, for the world, for the society, makes you feel happy. I cannot understand even how it's possible you not to do anything. You don't feel valuable like that to the society. So this is one thing. We have done so many different stuff. I personally co-founded the most successful social application called Citizens in English, graduated in Bulgarian. And it was the most successful social application in my country. And the mission there was to build a more proactive, polite, and responsible citizenship here in Sofia and in the other cities in Bulgaria. All of us, Todor, for example, the one that you mentioned, the previous CEO, he is really into ESG stuff, and so on and so on. So we're doing a lot of things, Frank.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk more as well about that application, Grajdaniti, if I'm not mistaken. If my Cyrillic is still good. I thought it was very interesting that, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically people download the app, and if there's any issue, could be something as simple as like the infrastructure in the city, potholes or some parking spaces that are not labeled properly, where let's say there's disability parking that the logo is erased and nobody can see it, and maybe somebody who's disabled who needs that extra space cannot get out of their wheelchair or something like that, right? So talk to me a bit more. Yep. What are the most surprising or the most interesting outcomes of that application, and how people use it, and how you notice it improve kind of day-to-day life in these different cities?
Oh, it's a huge topic. Just to give an example.
Maybe just some highlights,
I spent 8 years of my life working around 20 hours per week without any money for it. And I was the happiest person. Because with this type of work, you feel that you bring so much value. You build communities, you improve the city that you live at. You are doing something that is here, super important in order for me personally and for the rest of the people to feel happy. Just to give you several examples. So the app, simple terms, is what you mentioned. You can report problems in the city, whatever, but also you can put where you live, for example, the exact address of where is your house or apartment, and you start get notifications also if the electricity gonna be stopped, the water gonna be stopped, if there are problems around you, if there will be road construction work and some roads gonna be closed. So you get informed about that. But on the other side, there is a web portal that you as a citizen don't see, that is used by the cities, the administration there, so that they can remove the paperwork, so that they can, for example, when you send a problem, based on the type of the problem and location, it is immediately assigned to a person in the municipality who is responsible for that, and you can immediately start communicating, because before that everything was on paper. They have to send you paper letters, you have to respond via paper letters, total bullshit. And half of the work of these administrators in the municipality was just paperwork, and they couldn't solve the problems because they have to fill so much paperwork. So this is the brief. But it started, this This is such a funny story, It started just as reporting problems on the roads, violent driving, aggressive driving, parking on the sidewalks, whatever. Because we didn't have any marketing budget, whatever, it was just word of mouth. And because this is a big issue in Bulgaria with this aggressive driving and whatever, the people started downloading the app. And we mentioned that when you take a picture of a violation on the road, it immediately go to the traffic police and this person gonna be penalized. But it was not like that, because we checked all of the pictures, because someone can do some dirty picture,
Right.
and send it to the police. So we have to check that and then resend it to the traffic police. And in the first 2 days, we got a response from the traffic police that we blocked their emails because we sent so many signals that their inbox was full. They could not accept anymore. It was crazy. So we went there, made a meeting, started a process. Then later on, a small part of the problems were abandoned cars. And these abandoned cars were left on parking spots. And the parking spots are something that is very valuable here in Sofia especially. So these cars should be removed from there and used by normal cars that are the people that are driving the cars. So, and these these abandoned cars, the responsibility was not for the traffic police, but it was a responsibility of the municipality. So this is how we entered the municipalities. And again, the process there was like a year before removing the car, paperwork to inform the owner of the car, whatever. What we did, just to give you an example, is to digitize their initial process. Because when we started working with traffic police, they were using MS-DOS, no Windows even back then. You can imagine. This was crazy. Everything was paper. In the municipalities, again, only paper. So we did something super, super simple. In the cloud, in the Google Drive, we created a Google spreadsheet where we were putting all the signals with links. And the signals there were editable only by us or by the responsible official in the municipality. So they were just changing the statuses, not sending paper letters about changing of the status to the one that sent the signal. And we made it public, the spreadsheet. And this is how the people started to get informed. This is how we removed a lot of paperwork for the people that are working in the municipality. And then one of the mayors came to us and said, guys, this is so good. Why don't you do it for every signal, any signal that we are responsible to in the municipality? And I was like, no, that's crazy. I cannot do it in a spreadsheet. This is how we've built this web portal later on. So it was again a gradual process, a gradual. And we had these meetings once per quarter, or I don't remember exactly the sequence, of the community, of the people that are sending the signals, together with the people from the municipalities, together with the people in the traffic police. You are putting them together, speaking about it. And this is how you build a community of citizens. It was such a nice job. I was so motivated to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely...
Even without any payment or whatever.
You feel a great sense of accomplishment for sure. And I love what you guys did. I love where people find ways to use technology to solve real life problems, because a lot of times, governments, they're not very good at distributing money that they collect from taxes and stuff like that. And when you started talking about this, especially the pothole situation, it reminded me, maybe our video editor can put it in afterwards, but there was a guy, I think he was in the UK, and he was an artist. And he was complaining that in his municipality, the government wasn't fixing the roads and it was getting worse and worse and worse. So what he started doing, he took the chalk and he started going the roads where you see big potholes, and he draw obscene images of like men's genitalia, basically, right? So you had massive penises on the road, pretty much, right? And it was so cool, the art itself, because the way he draw it is very detailed, but it was so embarrassing for the city because people would take pictures and they would share it. Eventually, the city felt so embarrassed that they went in and fixed the potholes. So I love this approach that you're using a technological solution for an infrastructure problem. That's amazing to see.
But more important in this example is even what you mentioned, that this person didn't just complain.
That's
he
right.
went there and did something. artwork, whatever it is, but he did something. And that's the mindset. It depends on us. When we are not satisfied with something, we go and fix it. We go and try to do something about it, not just complaining and then getting depressed, Go and do something.
Yeah.
And that's why there is a saying, people should stay busy. When you are busy, there is no time for depression or whatever it is, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. And Stoyan, I'm conscious of your time as well, so I just have a couple quick questions, and then we can wrap it up. Being so heavily involved in the technological field, what are the trends in technology that you're paying attention to? What are the trends that you find interesting, and where do you see kind of the industry going in terms of like the new developments? You talked about AI, machine learning, stuff like that. So what is personally interesting you in the tech sector?
Yes. So, of course, AI and machine learning is a huge topic. For me, there are two other things, frankly, that I'm more into them, let's say. First of all is the business itself, because currently the AI and the machine learning, I don't want to say bad, but there is no so much practical business impact coming from them. If we don't count, let's say, searching about something and giving you descriptions about something, but practical impact, it's gonna come in the next years. But security is a huge issue now, in my opinion. Because of all this data, all the things that you do, you don't know who's done it because of the AI. This is gonna be, in my opinion, a huge concern. Security in the way software has been built. Security also in the way what you look at, what you read, what type of materials influence you, because you don't know the author. A lot of these things going to be generated by the AI. So this is going to influence a lot of our society. So security also in that sense. And this for me is huge in the next years, especially for the younger people that haven't been without a phone in their hands,
I'm quite heavily involved with blockchain companies as well. Like we help quite a few Web3 companies hire. And a lot of like the really young, talented developers are in that sphere because they're pro open source, they're pro transparency. And in the blockchain industry, I think they came up with some clever solutions like ZK Syncs and ZK Snarks. And I think they're doing more broad applications where basically the internet, any information is going to be able to be verified with real-time data on chain, whether that's connecting like research publications and not just quoting some research from 100 years ago that cannot be reproduced, but actually quoting recent research that has been reproduced by many laboratories or real-time data. So have you looked into any of that stuff, or what do you think are some of the solutions for these privacy, security, and let's say truth concerns online?
Yes, so blockchain is an example of something that is also has to find, the technology has to find its true impact to more people, not just to the enthusiasts, because also there are not so many practical implications in the businesses, in the governments and so on, but I believe there will be. Also, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. This is my thing, but this is a different topic. But what you asked is a huge question. Huge. Even if you think about this company called Wiz, the fastest growing B2B startup ever, 500 million ARR in 4 years just. They are into the security, in securing your code in the cloud. And this gonna be there will be a lot of unicorns in the future that gonna be able to secure
your information,
what you read, what you do as a work, and whatever, because it is very easy, especially now when there are so many elections this year all over the world, to be manipulated with materials that were created that are fake, but no one now thinks about, is it fake, is it not? Or there are two things. You don't think about it anymore, or you think that anything is fake and you cannot trust anyone, which is bad for the democracy at all. So this influences how we think, how we communicate. If you think about it even further, there in many countries now in Western Europe, especially in the States, people that are, let's say, supporting different parties, they even don't talk to each other. They don't want to hear. There is no debate about, to hear the other story. And this came because of the social media and the content there that influences a lot.
And you talk about elections. To me, it seems like the most obvious solution. Why hasn't somebody created a blockchain application for voting in elections in the government? And something that's transparent, that you can have your ID that can be privately verified, that you are the citizens of Bulgaria and you voted for this party, and everything is on the blockchain, can be verified. Because if you look at the recent election in Venezuela, which is like horrible for the people of Venezuela, right? But Maduro's results, the kind of dictator who's been in power for 20 years, according to his research, he got 109% or 107% of the total votes of the country. So when they meddle with the elections, there's more people voted that there are citizens in the country, which is just ridiculous. I mean, that shouldn't happen in 2024.
I'm not sure whether you know, but there are a dozen states in the US that don't ask about your ID when you vote.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's a whole nother discussion. So, Stoyan, I'm conscious of your time as well. I know you have to go. Just the last question from my side. What are your personal motivations and ambitions going forward in your career, in the things you want to achieve in business, let's say, in the next 10, 20 years?
If we think about Dreamix, my ambition here is to grow further our value that we bring to specific industries like aviation, logistics, pharma. That's very important to us, to have this, business knowledge that we can bring to our partners. Also to develop great expertise in data and later on in security. For me, that is also very important. The people in the organization to feel as good currently and in the future as it is so far. So that's also very important. The impact of our company and the culture that we have built to serve as an example to many others, and for them to build this type of culture,
mindset and companies
and practices. Yeah. Personally, I have 3 small kids, so my ambition there is for them to become good people, and that is challenging nowadays. So this is also something important for myself. I'm also personally with a lot of ideas that are also outside of the tech sector, so I have a lot of things that I'm gonna do there. Let's say one of the things that I really love is football, so I may start doing something there. Also construction and development, so let's see.
I'm curious to see where life takes you, and look forward to catching up with you in person very soon.
Thank you, Alexander. It was a pleasure.
Likewise.
If you have any further questions, I'm open also to discuss, and thanks a lot for that.
Thank you so much, and we're going to link everything you talked about, including Dreamix and how people can find you, in the show notes as well. So thank you, and until next time.